Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 9 of What If Naruto Was Sent to the Marvel World. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Returned Different after his training trip. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy. I posted on this channel. Over on Anime King 2, I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Was a God Amongst Man. So stay in tune for that. I'm also going to be posting What If Orochimaru Was Naruto's father. So stay in tune for that, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every episode. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, guys. And yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So yeah guys, let's get straight into the intro. Start up.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their
So to do a bit of a recap from the last part, Loki came as he tried to put Naruto under his control. Naruto grabbed his staff and buried Loki's face into the ground. As Loki told Naruto something, trying to convince him, telling him that Clint and Natasha has been using him all this time, as Fury was just using them to make sure that he keep in check, as he told him that Natasha never loved him, as he used Clint's mind and saw everything. As Naruto was sad, but he wasn't going to let that stop him from hurting Loki, as he started to beat the crap out of Loki when there was a booming sound as the sky opened up, as he saw weird alien creatures coming out of it, as they started to attack the city, as beams fire off of Naruto, as Naruto jumped out of the way, as Loki was picked up by one of these riders as he headed off. Naruto then went into the city, as Naruto saved a woman. Her name was Joy, as her brother Ward was there as well, as Naruto healed her, as he headed off to take care of the rest of them, as Naruto went on a slaughtering rampage, slaughtering aliens and aliens all over, as he met up with Clint, as Naruto was pissed off, as you remember what Loki said, as Natasha then arrived and told him what is the use of him having a phone if he's not going to use it. Naruto was about to tell her to screw off when Kurama told him to worry about the safety of the city for now. As Naruto didn't say anything, the Avengers then came together, as a man on a motorcycle came, as he transformed into the Hulk, as Naruto was excited to see that, as all of them went on a killing spree destroying the aliens, as Naruto went up as he looked where Loki's staff was. Naruto was taken to another strange dimension. As he looked around, he then met Thanos, as Thanos told him that he will be coming for that himself soon, and to keep it safe for him, as Naruto found out how arrogant this guy was. But Naruto told him when he meet face to face, he would beat the crap out of him, as Thanos just chuckled. And with that, a nuke was sent to New York City, but Iron Man threw it right in the portal just as they closed it, as he came down as Hulk caught him. And that was the end of that, as the Avengers won. Some time passed and they were having a party to celebrate, as Naruto was just sitting there as he told Thor that he wanted the Tesseract, as he could keep it in safe hands, and if this guy come looking for it, he can simply fight them off, as Thor trusted him with it, as he decided that he will give it to Naruto. Nick Fury then came as he was about to speak when Naruto punched him in the face, as Naruto get beyond pissed, as he revealed everything, as he asked was this all a trick, him having the Tesseract for years, for about 50 years now, and him using Natasha and Clint to spy on him, as Natasha didn't say anything, as Clint told him that we are friends, as Naruto said that he's done, and with that he headed off, as Naruto then had the Tesseract in his hand, well the cube, as Kurama told him that the stone was inside, as Natasha then entered the room behind him. So yeah guys, that was basically the last where we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. It was like ages as the both of them stood there, Natasha looking at Naruto's back, as neither of them said a word. She then gulped. Naruto, I am so... Don't, Naruto said, as he turned around to face her. Was any of it real? Of course it was. Don't lie to me, Naruto shouted, as he slammed his fist on the table, cracking it. He then took a breath and calmed himself. I know it was a mission, Clint told Loki while he was under his spell. And don't try to pull the Loki was lying bullcrap, because I know he wasn't. Natasha's face was a look of desperation as he grabbed a hold of Naruto's jacket. Naruto, please, she said, as he placed his hand on her shoulders, as he pried her off of him. Just tell me, was any of it true? As she seemed to fight with herself. Yes, but at first it was an order. Fury gave it to me so I can gain your trust, so I could report to him if you start to show any sign of hostile tendency towards us. And I must give you a reason not to betray us. But after a while, things became different. I started to feel things for you. Tears were now running down her cheeks. Utter look of shame on her face as she continued to speak, as she looked him directly in the eyes. My feelings for you, they're real. I swear. I haven't loved anyone like I love you. Please understand. Did you still report to Fury about me after that night when I told you everything Naruto asked? As Natasha didn't say anything. I see, said Naruto in a whisper. Did you tell him about Kurama? She still didn't say anything. I see, Naruto said. Naruto, please, you have to understand. They were my Naruto cut her off. I'm going to say the same thing that I told Fury. And I want you to understand when I say it. As his voice and his face had no emotion. I am done with you. As he walked past her, his tesseract in his hand, as he made his way out of the room. Naruto, please. As Naruto did not respond, as he fly out. Heading off. Time skip. Naruto stood over the mountain regions, where he had crash landed, the crater, the hole that his body created when he hit the ground. As he looked at the tesseract in his hand, the blue glow radiating the night sky around him. Naruto, are you alright? Kurama asked. Yeah, Kurama, I'm fine, Naruto said, out loud. No, you're not, Kurama said. Yeah, Kurama, I know, Naruto said. As he activated his sixth path, Sage Cloak, as he squeezed down on the tesseract, as the cube started to crack, as light started to come from it, the energy that the stone was giving off was humming as more cracks went around the cube container. Finally, it shattered as a shiny blue stone float. As it then came into his hand, a bright blue glow started to mix in with the yellow flames from his cloak. As Naruto's eyes were shining a rather bright blue, as he could feel the power that the space stone gave him. As he started to picture the Hokage's rock, something he did every day. As he pictured the faces of all the past Hokages, all of them. Naruto then felt a sudden pull, as he was a loud boosh to his right. As Naruto saw a portal open up next to him, similar to the portal that had opened up for the battle for New York. Looking inside, Naruto felt a well of happiness, as he found the exact thing that he was looking for. Tears started streaming from his eyes as he saw the stone faces, those faces that gave him hope, as he looked at his home. Meanwhile, a distance away, so the boy has left Earth. Yes, my master. Thanos chuckled. I have to give him that. The boy surely has power. I don't know how a fight with me and him would go. Is he truly that powerful, my lord? Other asked. Perhaps a testing is in order, Thanos said. The other looked up at his master, but who can challenge him? I think I have someone in mind, Thanos said. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he was back, as the village looked perfectly fine, but the giant roots and the cocoons, as Naruto rushed over to the cocoons. But, to his surprise, they were empty. What the hell, he said, as he quickly entered Sage mode, as he expanded his senses to try and find any life forms. But, he came up empty. Where the hell have they gone? As Naruto jumped down to the streets below. What the hell is going on, he thought. Do you think it's possible that your team defeated Kaguya? Or at least got away from her and freed the people from the cocoon? Kurama asked. Maybe, Naruto said, as he took a closer look to see. The buildings were decayed. Rust was on them. They were also falling apart. It was then that he noticed it was quiet. No birds. No squirrels. No nothing. Naruto then formed his hand sign, Shadow Clone Jutsu, as he created hundreds of clones. Search as many villages as you can, big or small, and see if you can find any survivors, humans, animals, anything, Naruto said. and with that all of the clones headed off. Naruto then bit his thumb as he went through hand sign, summoning jutsu, but nothing happened. Maybe you should go to the last place you were on this planet, try to find some clues or whatever. Naruto nodded as he fly off towards a great battlefield in the land of lightning. Time skip. Hovering over the era, Naruto looked in shock to the sight in front of him. The country was now a massive crater with lava spewing out of it, and massive ice spikes came from the ground that went straight up, and in the center of it all was a massive structure which was a god tree. The bodies of hundreds and thousands of white Zetsus litter across the area, each and every one of them torn into pieces and obliterated. As he hovered, he got the memories from his clones, showing that each village was empty. What the hell happened here? Naruto shouted. As Naruto descended down to the ground, as he inspected one of the white Zetsus. It was a battle to end all battle. As Naruto spun around to see Black Zetsu. As Zetsu quickly had to jump away, as Naruto tried to drive his fist right in his face. What happened here? Tell me what you did. Me? Zetsu said. This is not my work. Naruto caught up with Zetsu as he dragged Zetsu in the ground by his neck as he then lifted him up. Then tell me who? Zetsu didn't seem to bother by Naruto trying to close his windpipe. He just seemed to have given up. Why do you think Kaguya was so desperate to activate the god tree? It wasn't supposed to bring peace. It was supposed to create an army. So when they come, she could fight them off. When who came? Naruto asked. Kaguya isn't the only of her kind. There were some others that had eaten the god fruit and gained ultimate power. Kaguya decided to stay on this earth, and they usually go to the next world and the next world, draining it of all of its energy, gaining the god fruit. And she knew that one day they will come for her. So she used the god tree to create white Zetsus, as many of them as possible, to fight them off. As you can see, he said, this is what happened when gods battle. What happened to Kaguya, the others? To my friends, Naruto said. They killed each other. Momoshiki, Kinshiki, they killed off Kaguya's army. And it was not too long before the Titan ripped the countries apart. Kaguya took them to her dimension. The fight lasted for years, decades, with Momoshiki, killing Kinshiki and taking his chakra to become even more powerful. Eventually, Momoshiki finally absorbed the little that remained of Kaguya's chakra, killing her, along with the rest of the Bijus. Kaguya is dead, Naruto said, stunned by the news. What about this Momoshiki? I killed him in his weakened state, Zetsu said. It was rather easy, the man's chakra was practically at zero. He came here to absorb the god tree, and I took advantage of him and I defeated him. It was the least I could do for taking away my purpose. Your purpose? Naruto said, as he slammed Zetsu into the ground. What about the countless of innocents that you killed, that you made suffer? There's nothing is left. Everyone, Iruka, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Tsunade, as Naruto kept on slamming his fist down on Zetsu. I hate you, Naruto said as he drove his fist down. One last time, his hand driving right through Zetsu's head, shattering the ground underneath him with contact. Naruto eventually get off Zetsu, as Zetsu's head started to reform, as the both of them just sit beside each other. Your friends, they died quick deaths. The Uchiha put up quite a fight, but not even he could match her might. The Hatake and the pink hair one died soon after. Do you really think that's gonna make me feel any better? Naruto asked, as he slowly stand up. No, I just wanted to make you know that they died honorable deaths. The least I can do for the man that's going to end my miserable existence. As two of them stood there for several minutes before Naruto spoke. And what about the toad summons? What about the other summoned animals? Dead as well. No living thing survived Kaguya's technique. Every last thing turned into a white Zetsu. Naruto looked over to the massive god tree as he held out his hand as a tail beast ball was created as he pumped chakra into it and thrust it forward. Boom! As everything exploded. How long has it been since my battle with Kaguya? Naruto asked as he watched the fireworks. As you remember, this black thing had said decades. 76 years, said Black Zetsu. That long, Naruto said, as he dropped to his knees. I have been gone for 76 years. As Zetsu nodded. For decades, I've waited for something to come along. So what are you waiting for? Kill me, he said. As Naruto smiled sadly. Because of you, this has happened. Every war ever conflict. My mom, my dad, the Bijus, the other Jinjulkis, Madara, Obito, Itachi, the Uchiha clan, all of this is because of you. As Naruto enveloped himself in Sage six-path mode, as he held out his hand as a Rasengan bill, as three tiny spears appear around it. Planetary, tail beast ball, Naruto said, as he sank his attack right into Zetsu's face, as everything erupted in explosions. Later that day, Naruto was crying, as he was carving the names on the giant memorial stone, as he was in Konoha at the graveyard, as he was carving all of their names, all of the ones who he lost, as he just kept on crying, not even wiping away the tears. He just let it free. He just let it flow freely. Time skip. Naruto was now at the Hokage's office, as he wiped the dust off the table, as Naruto then went over and sat in the Hokage's chair, finally fulfilling a long life wish. Ever since he stepped into his office as a child, he wanted to become Hokage. But now, as he chuckled at the memories when he was much younger, as Naruto walked over to the photos on the wall, as he removed his father's, as he took out the picture, he would keep this with him as he folded it up, but he then noticed a seal on the back, as he channeled chakra into it and a scroll poofed out. Naruto folded the photo and put it in his pocket, as he picked up the scroll as it read, Flying Thunder God Technique. Holy crap, brat, you know what that is? Kurama asked. This is my dad technique, right? The one that made him famous. But why is it here, of all places? How the hell would I know that? It was probably put there by the old man for safekeeping. Probably, Naruto said. Who gives a crap? Why, it's here. If you master that, you could go anywhere you wanted so long as you mark the place. That means you could come back here without using a space stone. Yeah, that could come in handy. I can keep the stones here for safekeeping. Seal them away somewhere safe, where only I can reach them. I think it's training time, Naruto. With your Shadow Clone method, you can get a lot of things done before you start your Infinity Stones hunt. I know we have just gotten here, but I think it's time we left. There's nothing else you can do here. Naruto looked down. I guess you're right, he said. I'm going to get some supplies though. Time skip. Naruto is currently in a weapon shop. As Naruto create a group of clones, grab as many weapons as you can and seal them away into a scroll. As Naruto then walked through the shop, as he tried to find anything on Fuinjutsu, so he can learn more about sealing art. Hopefully you can be as good as Fuinjutsu as your mother was, said Kurama. Probably, Naruto said. I just hope I can live up to your expectations. You rarely ever do, but miracles happen all the time, I suppose. As Naruto was walking, he was thinking about the long time days, the memories, of him and Team 7, of him and Sarutobi, of him and his friends at the village, as a tear slipped out of his eye. Time skip. Naruto was now back home, as he had all the weapons sealed away in a scroll. What a crappy picture, he said, as he looked at himself in the old Team 7 photo. Look how weird I used to look. I guess you did look goofy back then, Kurama said. As Naruto chuckled, as he folded up the photo and put it in his pocket. Naruto then made his way to the Hokage's tower, as he stand on top of it and look over the village, as a sad smile was on his face. It's time we go now, Kurama said. Time skip. We're lost, Kurama said. I know you can hear me, brat. Please, Kurama. Shut up, Naruto said. I told you that was a stupid idea. A stupid idea, Naruto said. If I remember correctly, you were the one who said, screw it. We will find a planet eventually, but we haven't. We found 4 planets, you little crap, Kurama said. Yeah, but neither of them had any life forms, Naruto said. I don't see why we just don't go back to Earth. You haven't had a good fight in a year now, Kurama said. Naruto sighed. I already told you, Kurama, Earth is the last place I want to go. Besides, we have a lock on a large, mass form of life for some time now. Every time I activate my 6-path sage mode, the presence gets stronger and stronger. We're getting close. You just have to be patient, Naruto said. Who the hell are you talking about being patient, Mr. I gotta get home now, Kurama said. You're the most impatient person I ever met, and that's saying something, seeing that I was stealing your mother for 30 years. I hate you, Naruto said. As the two of them enter a moment of silence, neither of them saying a word, as they rocketed through the void. His body was covered in 6-path sage mode, and he was also using his wind chakra to create a barrier around himself so he could breathe as Naruto was traveling through space. You know what I just thought of? Kurama said. What? Naruto asked. When we eventually run into these life forms, how exactly do you plan on speaking to them? Naruto blinked several times. Shit. Exactly, Kurama said. Naruto didn't stop flying as he was floating in the air. I can't believe that didn't cross my mind. If only you still had that magical necklace that ancient woman gave you. Yeah, if only, Naruto said, rubbing his chin in thought. Yeah, if only you had sealed it in a scroll. A few years ago, Kurama said. Yeah, I know. I'm such an idiot, Naruto said. Dumbass, you sealed it in a scroll, Kurama shouted. You know, words can hurt, Naruto said, as he reached down into his pouch as he started to pull out the scrolls. As Naruto found the scroll that he was looking for, as he pumped chakra into it, and beads pumped out of it. Something can wear around his wrist. Well, this should help, he said. Meanwhile, Captain, said Martin X. As the captain looked over, his name was Stakar. What is it, Martin? Well, there is something strange. What do you mean? Asked Stakar. As Martin X brought over the tablet and showed him. Is that a man? Yes, sir, and he seemed to be on fire. Is he alive? Asked Stakar. Yes, he is, sir, said Martin X. And he's giving off some strange energy that I never felt before. He could be a herald. They are the only beings I know that can travel through space like that. Stakar lazily closed his eyes. He's not. Bring him aboard. Sir, but what if he's hostile? Or did you have a vision? I told you, they're not visions. Right, Captain, of course, said Martin X. I will have them activate the tractor beam at once. Are you coming along? Yes. I'll be there in a minute, said Stakar, as he saw that call was coming in. Waiting until Martin X left the room, he answered, What is it, Yondu? I thought I told you to never call this line. As Yondu's face could be seen on the screen in front of Stakar, as he placed his fist on the left side of his chest, in a sign of solitude, the blue skin pirate spoke. I know, Stakar. I apologize, but I heard some news I feel you'd like to know. Stakar sighed. And what news would that be? I have heard word that your score has been spotted in Hyberlac. And where exactly did you get this information from? Stakar asked. Yondu hesitated for a second until he spoke. Quill and Kraglen heard it when they were stationed on a nearby port station. Do you have his exact coordinates? The captain asked. The blue-skinned pirate nodded. Of course. Meanwhile, a woman stood at the entrance of a locked door, waiting to be given the permission to open it and speak with the mysterious fireman. As she looked at the feed that played the camera in a small room where he was, as she found herself fascinated by the man. Now that he was on the ship, he was engulfed in those yellow flames, showing that he was in his late 20s. But she could be wrong considering that his face was covered by shoulder-length blonde hair that had a spiky mix to it, and a thick beard that had a different color to it. His clothes were rather strange in her opinion, with a black jacket that was buttoned up almost all the way. Around his right hand was a red armband with a swirl on the center. He had on orange pants as well, along with combat boots. She could also see his face a bit as she saw strange markings, 3 of them on his cheeks. Meanwhile, with Naruto, you gotta be kidding me, Naruto said. You take a nap for a couple of minutes and then this happened, he said. As he looked around, he was in some kind of a metal room. I thought I told you to be on the lookout, Kurama. And I thought I told you to screw off, Kurama grumbled. Just be glad I kept the cloak going. Otherwise, you would be here with your eyes popped out of your skull. Touché, Naruto thought. He then saw a shadow of a figure right at the glass as he waited to prepare himself to see if this figure could be hostile. The wall then flew upward, revealing that the figure on the other side was a woman, as she looked to be in her early 20s, as she was wearing a rather tight pants and a loose jacket. Under her jacket was a black shirt that seemed to be made out of wool material. She then walked up to him slowly, her hands raised in a sign of peace. She was rather attractive with straight black hair that went down her shoulders. We don't mean you any harm, the woman said. Do you know who we are? She said as she pointed at her shoulder to show him the golden piece of metal that resembled fire. Sorry, whatever your name is, but I have no idea what is going on here. My name is Terra and you're in the Virgo system. We picked you up after seeing you drifting in space. And who are you guys exactly, Naruto asked. We are the Stakar, Ravish clan. Welcome to the Star Hawk. Naruto looked past her shoulder to see a rather peculiar thing. It looked humanoid, but its complexion was not. Martin X, this is Naruto, Terra said, giving Naruto his name. As she then looked back at Naruto, if you don't mind me asking, what exactly were you doing out there? Taking a nap, Naruto said, as he was too busy studying the thing in front of him. So, what are you made of, he asked. I honestly cannot tell if that's a diamond or ice or what. And if you're made of ice, how the hell are you not melting right now? Cause it's like 70 degrees in here. My skin is made up of organic crystal. Not that is any of your business, Martin X said, looking at Naruto. And how exactly could you survive long enough out there for you to take a nap? Trade secret, Naruto said, as he was still focused on how cool Martin X's skin looked. So, this is him, said a voice behind him, said Stakar, as he stood there with one hand in his pocket, while the other had a cigarette in his mouth. I want to know what exactly you were doing out there. Not many beings in this universe can just fly out like that and survive. And why exactly do you want to know, Naruto asked, not wanting to get into a similar situation like what happened with Fury years ago. Stakar gave him a long look. I want to ask because I don't want to forbid a herald. A what? Naruto asked, as the two men looked at each other. As Naruto was confused, as Stakar was just looking at him. You're not very bright, are you? Asked Stakar. Someone else finally said it, said Kurama as he chuckled. Well, sorry I'm not fluent in your alien mumbo jumbo. I only been exploring the galaxy for a few weeks now. The four of them stood there for a second, no one really knew what to say, before a loud rumbling could be heard. As Naruto was blushing in embarrassment, as he was holding his stomach. You guys wouldn't have to have any food, he asked. Time skip, so you guys are pirates, Naruto asked, as he was sitting next to Terra, in some dining hall. Martin X and Stakar had excused themselves a bit earlier to talk in private, leaving the two behind. Terra shrugged. Well, I suppose if you want to put a oversimplifying label on it, yes, we are pirates. Well then, if you don't want to call it that, what exactly would you call yourself, Naruto asked. Well, honor bounty mercenaries, she said. Really, it depends on what clan you belong to, and the captain that leads it. Some of them focus on stealing more than the others. Others are hired guns, or some of them deal with smuggling, but all of them must follow the Ravisher Code, which is Naruto asked. No Ravisher is without honor, duty bound to serve his captain. If you wish to thief, thief. If you wish to smuggle, smuggle. If you wish to bounty, bounty. But we do not kill the innocent, and we do not rape, and we do not deal with children. Terra said, obviously, memorized the code some time ago. Those are the big ones, but there are other things that are frowned upon, she said. As I said, it really just matters which clan you're from, and who your captain is. So what you guys deal in? Naruto asked curiously. That kid would be bounty hunting, Stakar said, walking into the room with Martin X following behind him. We go after the biggest bounty we can find, and turn them into whoever will pay the most, said Martin X. As Martin X started to greet the people around the dining hall, it was rather full, with strange different aliens, as Naruto felt really out of place. Most of them had glared at him when he entered the hall, but they backed down when they saw Terra. When the crew realized that their captain had entered, all of them raised their glass. Captain, they shouted. Stakar waved his hand at his crew, this being a common thing. As Stakar sat down beside them. So what system are you from, kid? No clue, my planet is really far from here. It took 4 days of flying to reach to another planet, Naruto said. 4 days of flying is not that far, kid, Stakar said, amused. Naruto took a big bite of the meat that he was given. The food looked pretty good. It was a little put off at first with the purple color, but it was rather tasty. As he spoke, well, actually, I was moving at the speed of light. Well, that's how fast I think I was going. Well, I was booking it pretty good. The room was quiet for a second as the three of them looked at him, not knowing what to say after that. After nearly a minute, Martin X spoke. How could you possibly move at that level of speed? You know that fire cloak of mine? Seeing everyone nodded, he continued. Once I go into that form, I can do a whole lot of cool things, one of them being complete control over magnetism. All I have to do is propel myself from the planet or the star and boom, it shot me off into a different location. I can also fly through other means, but this is the fastest way. as Naruto did not see any reason to tell them. If he had to fight them, his magnetic release was only one of hundreds that he had. That's actually impressive, Martin X said, considering that there are countless number of stars in the galaxy, let alone in the universe. It would be hard to pick up on one and use a magnetic force as a springboard, but you were able to do it. And I'm assuming that cloak of yours protect you from the harsh environment of space as well. Naruto nodded. Yeah, and I use a neat little trick with Wing to help me breathe. I call it, screw you, I'll breathe in space if I want, Naruto said, as he chuckled a bit to himself, as he continued eating his food. So, where were you heading exactly, Terra asked. Naruto shrugged. I was heading to a planet where I could feel a lot of life force from there. The only planet near here is Eco, and that has 0 intelligent life forms, Martin X said. The planet is considered inhospitable. You would have probably died if you had go there. Strange, Naruto thought. I knew I could feel life forms on the planet. Oh well, Naruto said. He then looked at Stakar. Good thing that you found me then. Otherwise, I might be a goner, he said that chuckle. Stakar chuckled. It's not every day you see a kid on fire floating around space. But that cannot be the only reason. You have no idea if I was a threat or not. And you helped me out anyway. Why? Well, said Stakar, my people are born with a special ability. Huh? And what is that? It's the ability to have foreknowledge on an event. You mean you can see in the future, Naruto asked. In a way, but what I see is a brief picture, and I can use it at will, but it's random, so it's not at all practical. So what did you see? I mean, when you saw me, you have to have seen something like a stranger on your ship. As the captain closed his eyes, I saw you and Terra. As he then went silent for a moment. Saw me and Terra what? Having relations. Naruto's eyebrows went up in shock, as he wondered if the man was just messing with him, and then he turned towards Terra. You don't seem surprised. Well, the problem with our abilities, fate isn't something that is set in stone. You can change it under the right circumstances, involving the parties, before it happened. That could be a big change in it. I know that my father has told us about the possible relationship. There is now a chance that it can be avoided. Wait, Naruto said, as he looked back and front at Stakar and Terra. You guys are, as he saw the slight resemblance. As Terra sighed, yes, he's my father. Is it really that shocking? Well, no, I guess, Naruto said. It's just strange to see a man talk about his daughter's sex life that casually. Why? Martin X asked. What is so strange about a father wishing for his child to meet? I'm gonna pretend you didn't just say that, Naruto said. I know that we got that out of the way, Stakar said, changing the conversation. We can now get down to business, which is, Naruto asked. He reached into his pocket as he pulled out a small tablet. I can tell that you're a strong kid. From what I've been seeing, I can tell that you can take on a Nova, Core Centaurian with no problem. And seeing that you have no idea where you're going, I'm saying that we can help each other out a bit. I'm listening, Naruto said. He then tossed the tablet over to Naruto, as Naruto looked down to see. It was like a wanted poster. The creature in the headshot was rather strange in Naruto's opinion. It looked like a lion with a humanoid form. Its long, dark grey hair merged with his beard, giving it like a lion mane. And the beard was tied off in a ponytail, as his arms were nearly bursting with blood vessels, and his chest was rather large. His legs were covered by blue pants that had varied pieces of armor all over it. And who the hell is this guy, Naruto asked. His name is Blastar, living bomb burst. He is considered by the Nova Corps as a universal threat with a bounty of 3 billion units. After months of searching, we have finally found his location. Stakar then scrolled down and screamed. As you can see, he is as much as a monster as his bounty is worth. In the past 30 years since he's been active, he has destroyed dozens, if not over 100 cities, killing millions of people along with it during the war. War? Naruto said. It was Martin that answered. It was the Xandarian Creek War, or the 1,000-Year War, as most call it now. It plagued the star system for over 1,000 years. It is only now that talks of peace are happening between the two sides. But the Krees are arrogant people, so there is much bluster in their negotiations. It may take years for a treaty to be signed, that is if it gets signed at all. The Krees have used Blaster when them themselves cannot muster up the power to conquer a certain planet. So they use him to bomb the planet, and then they sweep in and do the rest. And let me guess, you guys are planning to go after this guy Naruto asks. Stakar shook his head. At first, no. We've been just trying to pick up a location, an alert, the Nova Corps, on the demand that they pay us half, which is fair all considering. But will you, he said. I think we might have a shot by taking this guy out. And let me guess, if I do this, you will give me a ride to a livable planet. Yes, we will take you to Xandar. That is a perfect place to get your bearings. We will have to go there to get the reward anyway. And we will give you 25% of the take. 25%? Don't you think that's pushing it a bit, Captain? Terra and Martin X asked at the same time. Of course not, says Takar. We were only going to take the original cut anyway. 3/4 is not that bad of a trade. He can help us out. As Naruto started to think it over, on one hand he can just say screw it and ditch these guys. The problem being he didn't have any clue what he was looking for or where could he find it. And the planet that he was heading to, if he had gone there, he would have died. On the other hand, he could take a ride with these guys who could bring him to a good planet, but he would have to fight a living bomb. And he'd been looking for a good fight for now. Along, he would be getting a lot of money, or units, whatever these aliens call their currency. And the way that Martin X and Terra said it, it must be a lot. Just do it, brat, jeez. Is there really any harm? Trying to think over things like you're smart. Just be a dumbass and accept, said Kurama. As Naruto chuckled. Keep on speaking to me like that, you furball, he said, as Kurama simply grumbled. As Naruto then turned towards the captain. You got yourself a deal, he said. But guys, be Insipso right here. If you want to see the next part of this, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto returned different after his training trip that I posted on this channel. And enjoy that, guys. And later on over Anime King 2, I'm going to be posting What If Naruto was a god amongst man. So I do hope that you guys enjoy. And also guys, I'm going to be posting What If Orochimaru was Naruto's father. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you guys enjoy it as well. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now guys. See you guys soon over Anime King 2. Peace.